Did you know that there have only been 3 films in the history of the Oscars to win Best Costume Design that were set in the modern day? Travels with My Aunt, All That Jazz, and the most recent, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, in 1994. Not even The Devil Wears Prada, an iconic film about fashion, won the gold. It was also the last modern set film to be nominated as of the 94th Academy Awards. And it lost to Marie Antoinette, if you're wondering. And this all makes sense to a point. Look at the lavish outfits of a period piece, or the bringing to life of clothes of fantasy or sci-fi worlds, compared to the more grounded, true-to-life, as we see it costuming of projects set in the modern day, and it makes sense. Contemporary fashion is much less eye-catching to those of us living in it than, say, something like Little Women or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Both recent winners, they stand out from something like this. But that's not to discount the skill that goes into modern costuming, using real, relatable outfits to convey aspects of a character's persona is an art in and of itself. And that's what I want to go over here. I just want to highlight and praise some excellent work done in the costuming of modern set media. Let's do this. Thank you. Okay, Internet, this one's pretty straightforward. I just want to look at a few pieces of modern set, film, and television, and praise them for the work that they do. I just want to spread some positivity on this one. That said, I am starting with a movie I do have a critique of. Oops! I'm talking about The Devil Wears Prada. Hear me out. I'm not here to be like a guy shitting on a fashion movie. I think it's a lot of fun, and Streep eats every scene that she's in. So good. I just want to touch on the point that the way they costume Anne Hathaway at the beginning of the film. Her character, Andy, falls headfirst into the world of haute couture, and it's clear that she doesn't belong. Andy has this, casual, academic vibe, and no, it's not trendy, but it's not nearly as bad as they act like it is in the film. It's just a different aesthetic. This screams Tumblr aesthetic board. I don't know exactly what that look is, because that's not my thing, but it clearly is. And yes, I guess you could say that the way her fashion is looked down on is more of a commentary on the other characters in the film than it is on her sense of fashion herself. And I guess that because that's what I'm saying here. Gotcha! See, this was actually a positive point the whole time. King of plot twists here. Eat your heart out, De Palma. Not calling out M. Night. Another twist. Anyways, I wanted to bring this up because I do think that this is the optimal way to look at the costuming of Andy at the beginning of this film. And I think it's the best way to look at it because they could have made her look more frumpy at the beginning. They spent over $1 million on costuming on top of the multiple loans they got from major designers. They know what they're doing, and I gotta say, it was well worth it to spend all that money on the costuming because you can really tell the difference between real high-end and fake, you know? Another great modern set film in terms of costuming, but also in terms of everything because it's great, is Knives Out. Costume designer Jenny Egan's work on the film is a perfect example on how to do this really well. We're looking at 9 members of a rich Nepo family, but they're all dressed in unique ways to reflect their individual personalities while still fitting the autumnal, dark academia vibes that the film is going for. Even Toni Collette's Joni, who has a soft beauty guru California vibe to her, doesn't stand out too much while being designed to stand out. It's a great balance that they struck here that it's gotta be hard to do. You know? It's gotta be hard to do. And this example expands further into Glass Onion in the scene where they're all meeting each other for the first time on the docks and wearing masks. On the subject, Jenny Egan told Digital Spy,
Lionel, the scientist, well, of course, he wears the most effective KN95, which is technically. So it was kind of that feeling of who was each of these characters and what mask would they have worn. I think it's about being out in the world and looking at people and seeing, did it matter? Some did, some didn't. Did they wear it down? And of course, like Claire's, I mean, even though politician, you need to see her face. So it was kind of always off, always an off and on. But of course, the beige staying intact. And, I think everybody had their own creative style. Daniel's was still a little bit debonair and chic. Some people, it's useful and it gets the job done. Some are like, well, if this is going to be the thing, then I'm going to make it styled. And then with Birdie, it was just, what could be the most ridiculous thing we could do?
And these are the small aspects of costume design that help us better understand the characters. When discussing film, the one thing everyone always says, they won't shut up about it, is show, don't tell. And costume design is exactly that. It's exposition on who characters are. And it's important because how we dress is how we express who we feel like we are to the world. Most of the time, when I'm at home, I'm just sitting around in baggy cargo pants and a black t-shirt that I have a whole bunch of because they're comfy. But when I make my videos, I dress up a little. Sometimes, you might say, too much. And I do that because I feel like if people would watch my videos and see me wearing just the same variation of an outfit over and over again, they'd be like, okay, this guy's kind of gross and lazy. Even though I bought a whole bunch of these shirts because I don't want to think when I'm getting dressed in the morning for being around the house, it can come off that way. And that's what costume design is. It's thinking about how you're going to be perceived and putting it forward, but for characters. Now, here's the thing. So far, we've been talking about movies. Decently budgeted films at that. So I want to take some time here and give credit to TV and what can be done on smaller sitcom scales, specifically Schitt's Creek. Series creator Dan Levy has said on multiple occasions that he would be the one to go out and buy clothes for the characters himself.
Clothes, particularly in this story, tell so much. It tells the audience, it reminds the audience continually where these people came from and just how much money they came from. And for me, it was also important to authenticate that experience. And if there were people who were interested in fashion, designer clothes, that they would be able to recognize pieces that we're showing. So we had such a small budget that part of that challenge was, where do you get designer clothes when you have nothing to work with in terms of money?
It's a big responsibility for the show's creator, lead writer, producer, and one of its stars to do, but it was important to him. That really shows that he had a vision for these characters, not just in the writing, but in all ways. He's talked about thrifting a lot of pieces, in specific for Catherine O'Hara's Moira, a choice that really paid off. Moira Rose has a sense of style that is loud, eclectic, and a bold extension of her personality, and you wouldn't be able to do that in such a way with off-the-rack items. On top of that, I imagine thrifting these items allows you to pick out more of these unique items on a smaller budget, which allows you to get more than if buying new. And that is great because it allows the costume department to put together more different, bold combinations of pieces for her outfits. It's great. It looks so good. What they did on that show was fantastic. And that about does it. As I keep saying, costuming is another tool in the storytelling toolbox, and it's one that can be fantastically used, and these are just a few of my personal favorites. You can leave yours in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos, do all the stuff that, YouTube needs you to do for me, and in exchange, you will get more of my content. We love a good content here. But yeah, that's all for this. I'll be back in a few weeks with another video, and until next time, have a good one.